My scene's starting to look decent. I have a flowing background, particles that are starting to look decent, materials that are looking okay, and particle effects that are functioning more or less the way I would like them. So now we're starting to get into some tweaking, and one of the things that I would like to do is make some adjustments to the materials on this bag. So let's actually go to the shading window and push 1 to get into a front view, push my period to zoom in, and take a look at what I have. If I'm in object mode, or edit mode, just so I can select different faces, and let's go to my materials, which it looks like I already am in. I've got 3 materials applied here. So let's see, I've got my basic non-textured item, which is bag material, or just bag mats. And if we take a look at that, we can see that I've got a image feeding into a principled BDSF, and then the material outputs. So that's great. If we go to these faces, we can see I've got bag mat 3, which is got the same thing, but then I have all of this happening, where I've got a texture coordinate feeding through some mapping, and a Veroni, which is how I'm controlling the circles, and more mapping, color ramp, and then I use this displacement node to create the actual bumps, which then feeds into material outputs. So that's great. If I go up here to these, I've got bag mat 2. Now the reason I did that, as I discussed, is that when you're applying a material to a 3-dimensional object and you make an adjustment to that material, say on the z-axis, or let's say on the x-axis, well, x is going to apply one way here and not necessarily the same way from a different point of view. So thus the multiple materials. However, I do wonder if I couldn't simplify this anyway. So let's take a look at doing that. I'm going to go to bag mat 3, and I'm going to just eliminate that slot, which I can't do in edit mode. So let's just quickly go to object mode, remove that item, and then by default it just grabbed everything that was 3 and assigned 2 to it. So we'll see that if we take a look at it, we'll see that this is now bag mat 2, as are these. Now, there is some inconsistency in how these things are working. You can see that the circles are very different based on where they are in the item. So I want to just play around with this. So what I'm going to do is let's toggle into X-ray mode and push 1 to get into the front view. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe even add a little bit. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to hold down Shift and select some more faces. And that should have grabbed through. Oh, looks like I missed a few here and there. So let's go ahead and grab, well, we'll just turn off X-ray mode now, I guess. And just grab this couple that I missed. And let's, a couple more. Oh, those might already be applied anyway, but whatever. So let's go ahead and assign. And now what I want to do is I want to just see what happens if and we can see, look, there's these big gaps in how things are applying. So let's just see if I can make a few changes. So I think the first thing I want to do is, rather than just doing a generated texture coordinate, I want to grab UV and run that through the vector. And things have changed. Now the next thing I want to do is I think I just want to zero everything out and see where we get. So we'll do that in the mapping here. We'll do that on this mapping node as well. Just put everything at 0 or 1 and see what we get. All right. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and, so I think the scale here will give me some gaps. So let's go ahead and try adjusting, just let's do like 2, 2, and 2, and see what that gets us. The randomness, I think I'm going to take that down quite a bit. Let's get in here and maybe do 0.05. Maybe leaves a little bit of variation in there, but something much, much smaller and more subtle. And then over here in this mapping, let's just play around with that and see what we can get. Okay, so we'll change point to texture with those values I just, oh, that's pretty, that's not bad. That's pretty close. What if I just nudge this up a bit? Okay, that's not too shabby. And then maybe we'll do a little bit of rotation. Let's just see what we, yeah, something, just to give it a little bit of an angle maybe. Yeah, I think I'm liking that. I could play around with position in this case, but since I've got the angle of something is going to get cut off somewhere. So yeah, I think that might work. So there we go. Rather than having 3 or 5 or 10 materials on an item, by changing to UV from a texture coordinates and applying the first mapping node as a texture, we should be able to get some nice, consistent, reliable results on a material across an object.